Welcome to Empathy Stories, the channel where we uncover the extraordinary within the ordinary and inspire change through heartfelt tales. Today's story is a gripping journey of betrayal, courage, and redemption, as a homeless girl risks everything to stop a powerful billionaire from falling into a dangerous trap. Stay tuned. The lights of Caldwell Tower glimmered against the fading evening sky, casting long reflections on the streets below. Inside the building, Alex Caldwell, a man whose name commanded respect in boardrooms across the nation, sat at his expansive desk. The room was a study in opulence, with sleek modern lines and breathtaking views of the city stretching endlessly before him. Yet, despite the luxury, Alex's eyes betrayed a weariness. His success, though unparalleled, weighed heavily on him. Tonight was supposed to be the crowning moment of Alex's career. A deal with a foreign conglomerate, meticulously planned and touted as a surefire victory, awaited his signature. The papers lay neatly arranged on the table, the sleek golden pen positioned as if it knew its importance. Alex stared at the contract, the promise of even greater wealth beckoning him forward. The faint hum of his phone vibrated on the desk as congratulatory messages rolled in. But he ignored them. Something gnawed at him, a faint whisper of unease he couldn't quite shake. The silence in his office was broken by a soft knock. Olivia, his poised and efficient assistant, entered, holding a folder. "Everything's set for the signing tomorrow, Mr. Caldwell," she said with a confident smile. Alex nodded, but said nothing. The deal was enormous, with profits projected to catapult his company into global dominance. Yet, his fingers drummed lightly on the desk, betraying an uncertainty he wouldn't admit aloud. "Should I bring champagne to celebrate?" Olivia asked, sensing his hesitation. Before Alex could answer, the sound of frantic footsteps and muffled voices echoed from the hallway. A loud, hurried knock startled them both. Olivia frowned, glancing at Alex for guidance before heading to the door. When the door opened, it wasn't a business associate or courier on the other side. It was a girl, disheveled and gaunt. Her clothes were tattered and ill-fitting, and her eyes carried the hollow look of someone who had seen too much pain. Dirt streaked her pale face, but her gaze burned with a fierce urgency. "Please, don't sign it," the girl exclaimed, her voice trembling but resolute. Olivia froze, stunned by the intrusion. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" she demanded. "I don't have time to explain," the girl replied, stepping inside despite the obvious protests from Olivia. "Mr. Caldwell, you can't sign that contract. It's a trap. It'll ruin everything you've built." Alex's first instinct was to call security, to have this uninvited guest removed from his sanctuary. But something about her desperation made him pause. He studied her, noting the way her hands trembled and her voice wavered. Yet she stood her ground. This wasn't just a random act of madness. She was terrified and determined. "Who are you?" Alex asked, his voice steady but laced with suspicion. "And why should I believe anything you say?" "My name is Ava," she said, clutching the edges of her jacket as if it were a shield. "I've been on the streets for months, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what I know about that deal." She pointed to the contract on his desk. "They're lying to you. It's not what it seems." Olivia moved to interject, her tone sharp. "Mr. Caldwell, this is absurd. She's clearly—" "Let her speak," Alex interrupted, his tone cutting through Olivia's protests like a knife. "What do you think you know?" Ava swallowed hard, glancing at the doorway as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. "I overheard them," she said, her voice quieter now, but no less urgent. "Last night, in the alley behind Blackstone Plaza, two men were talking about the deal, about how they've hidden clauses in the contract that will bleed your company dry. They don't want to partner with you. They want to take everything from you." The words hung in the air, heavy and incredulous. Alex leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "You're telling me you happened to overhear a conversation that no one else in this city seems to know about?" "Yes," Ava said simply. "And I know it sounds crazy, but I wouldn't risk coming here if I wasn't certain. Please, just look at the fine print." Olivia crossed her arms, clearly unimpressed. This is ridiculous. She's wasting your time. But Alex wasn't so sure. Despite his logical instincts telling him to dismiss Ava, there was a flicker of something in her eyes, truth. Perhaps. Or maybe desperation, so raw it couldn't be fabricated. His gut told him to listen. If only for a moment. He picked up the contract, flipping through its neatly typed pages. The words blurred together, but he found himself slowing down when Ava pointed to specific clauses. "They've buried the real terms here," she said, leaning closer. "See that clause? It gives them access to your subsidiaries. And this one, if the deal falls through, you're liable for their losses. It's all designed to dismantle your company and make you take the fall." Alex's stomach churned as he read, the weight of her words sinking in. The terms were indeed there, cleverly hidden among jargon and legalese. How had he missed it? He prided himself on his meticulous attention to detail. Yet here he was, blindsided by the very thing he'd built his empire on: control. Before he could speak, heavy footsteps sounded in the hallway. The door swung open, and two burly security guards entered, their faces stern. Behind them stood a man Alex recognized instantly, Victor Reynolds, his most trusted advisor and the architect of the deal. Victor's sharp gaze swept the room, landing on Ava. His expression didn't waver, but Alex noticed a flicker of something: annoyance, perhaps, or fear. "What's going on here?" Victor asked smoothly, his voice calm yet firm. "Who is this girl? And why is she here?" Ava stiffened, her eyes darting between Victor and Alex. "He's the one," she said, her voice steady despite the clear danger. "Victor's been working with them. He's behind all of it." Victor's smile didn't falter, but Alex saw the faintest twitch in his jaw. "This is preposterous," Victor said, his tone dismissive. "Alex, don't let this nonsense distract you. Let's get back to signing the deal." But Alex didn't move. His hand rested on the contract, his mind racing. For the first time in years, he wasn't sure who to trust. Alex Caldwell's mind reeled as he looked from Ava to Victor. His world, carefully built on trust and precision, now seemed riddled with cracks. He had always trusted Victor implicitly, a man whose counsel had helped shape the empire that Alex now commanded. Yet, Ava's words lingered, planting seeds of doubt that were impossible to ignore. Victor, standing tall in his immaculate suit, exuded confidence. "Alex," he began, his voice calm and soothing, as though speaking to a nervous child. "This girl is a distraction, nothing more. Look at her. She's desperate, clinging to wild stories. Let's get back to business." But Ava's eyes never left Victor. Her disheveled appearance did nothing to hide the fire in her gaze. "You know I'm telling the truth," she said, her voice low but cutting. "You've been orchestrating this for months, feeding him lies while you set up this deal to steal everything." Victor's smile faltered for just a moment, but it was enough for Alex to notice. His heart sank. Was it possible? Could Victor, the man who had been by his side for years, really be behind such a betrayal? Alex sat back in his chair, the contract still in his hand. "Victor," he said slowly, his tone icy, "tell me why this contract has clauses that would allow them to siphon my resources and assets. Clauses I wasn't briefed on." Victor's composure wavered, though he quickly recovered. "Alex, you know how complex these deals are. Legal jargon, contingencies, they're standard. Trust me, I would never let anything harm your company." Ava stepped forward, undeterred. "Stop lying," she snapped. "I overheard you. Last night, in the alley behind Blackstone Plaza, you were on the phone with their representative, discussing how to dismantle Caldwell Enterprises once the deal went through." Victor's face darkened. His calm, reassuring demeanor morphed into something colder. "And why?" he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Should Alex trust the word of a homeless girl over me? I've stood by him through everything. While what are you? A nobody." Alex flinched at Victor's words. They stung, not because they were directed at Ava, but because they revealed a side of Victor he hadn't seen before. Arrogant, dismissive, dangerous. "She's more than that," Alex said, surprising even himself. His voice grew firmer. She's someone brave enough to stand here and risk everything to tell me the truth. Something you're struggling to do right now." Victor's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. The silence was damning. Ava seized the moment. "Look at the deal, Mr. Caldwell," she urged. "It's all there, hidden in the fine print. If you sign it, you'll lose control of your subsidiaries, your assets, and eventually, your entire company. They'll strip it down, sell it off, and leave you to take the fall." Alex opened the contract again, his hands trembling slightly. He scanned the pages Ava had pointed earlier, his sharp eyes catching details he had overlooked before. It was all there, buried under layers of legal jargon, clauses that gave the foreign conglomerate unprecedented control, provisions that left Alex liable for any unexpected losses. He felt sick. Victor took a step closer, his voice softening in a calculated attempt to regain control. "Alex, don't let her manipulate you. She's desperate, trying to make a name for herself by taking down someone successful. This deal is airtight. Trust me." But Alex couldn't shake the gnawing feeling in his gut. He looked up at Victor, his voice steady but laced with disappointment. "The trust you've spent years building. You're asking me to wager on a deal riddled with red flags. That's not trust, Victor. That's blind faith." Victor's facade cracked further. His smile disappeared, replaced by a scowl. "Alex, you're overthinking this. Do you want to throw away the opportunity of a lifetime because of this?" He gestured dismissively toward Ava. But Alex was no longer listening to Victor. Instead, he turned to Ava. "You said you overheard him last night. Can you prove it?" Ava hesitated, then nodded. She reached in her pocket and pulled out a small, battered voice recorder. "I recorded it," she said, her voice trembling. I thought no one would believe me unless I did." Victor's face went pale. "You're lying," he hissed. "There's no way she—" "Play it," Alex interrupted, his tone final. Ava pressed the button, and the room filled with Victor's voice, sharp and cold. "Once the contract is signed, Caldwell Enterprises is ours. Strip the assets, shut down the subsidiaries, and leave the mess for Alex to clean up. By the time he realizes what's happened, it'll be too late." The recording ended, leaving a deafening silence in its wake. Alex felt his chest tighten as he stared at Victor, the betrayal hitting him like a freight train. "Is this true?" Alex demanded, his voice a mix of anger and hurt. Victor didn't bother denying it. Instead, his expression hardened. "You should have been smarter, Alex," he said, his voice venomous. "You trusted too easily, and now you're paying the price." But Alex wasn't the defeated man Victor expected him to be. He stood, his voice strong and resolute. "Get out," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You're finished here." Victor hesitated for a moment, then turned and left, his footsteps echoing ominously in the hallway. As the door closed behind him, Alex turned to Ava. For the first time that evening, he allowed himself a small, genuine smile. "You saved me," he said softly. "I don't know how to thank you." Ava shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "You don't have to thank me," she said. "I just couldn't stand by and let it happen." But Alex knew he owed her more than words. This was just the beginning of a journey that would change both of their lives forever. The room remained eerily quiet as Victor's footsteps faded into the distance. Alex Caldwell sat motionless, staring at the contract, now meaningless scraps of paper scattered across the table. His chest felt heavy, the betrayal cutting deeper than he had anticipated. Victor had been more than a business partner. He had been a confidant, someone Alex had trusted with not just his company, but with pieces of himself. The silence was broken by Ava, who stood awkwardly, clutching the small voice recorder in her hand. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to cause you pain, but I couldn't let him destroy you." Alex turned his gaze to her, his expression softening. "You don't need to apologize," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "You did something no one else was brave enough to do. You told me the truth when I needed it most." Ava shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. She wasn't used to being seen, let alone appreciated. The streets had taught her to remain invisible, to avoid drawing attention. But now, She stood in the center of the room, acknowledged by a man who commanded power and respect. It felt foreign but strangely reassuring. "Tell me," Alex said, his voice low but firm. "How did you know about Victor's plan? How did you end up here?" Ava hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. But something about Alex's tone, earnest and without judgment, compelled her to speak. "I was looking for a place to sleep," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I overheard Victor talking in the alley behind Blackstone Plaza. He didn't see me. I knew it was dangerous, but I couldn't just walk away." Alex leaned back in his chair, absorbing her words. She had risked everything to warn him, despite having no guarantee he would even listen. Her courage stirred something in him, a reminder of the values he had once held before his life became consumed by profit and power. "You said earlier that someone has to stop people like Victor," Alex said, his tone contemplative. "What did you mean by that?" Ava glanced down, her fingers fiddling with the frayed edges of her jacket. "People like me," she began. "We don't have much, and it's easy for people in power to take advantage of that. I've seen it happen too many times. Corporations cutting corners, destroying lives, and no one does anything because they're afraid. I thought, maybe this time I can make a difference." Alex nodded, a flicker of admiration crossing his face. "You already have." The weight of the moment hung between them, and for a brief second, they were no longer a billionaire and a homeless girl, but two individuals connected by a shared understanding of right and wrong. But the moment was interrupted by the sound of the office door creaking open. Alex's assistant, Olivia, stepped inside cautiously, her face a mix of concern and curiosity. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, her voice tentative, "is everything all right?" Alex glanced at Ava, then back at Olivia. "It will be," he said firmly. "Victor's gone. I'll need you to arrange a meeting with the legal team first thing tomorrow. We have a lot to clean up." Olivia hesitated, her eyes flicking to Ava, clearly unsure of what to make of her presence. But she nodded. "Of course, Mr. Caldwell." As Olivia left, Alex turned back to Ava. "You've done more than enough tonight," he said. "Let me help you now." Ava blinked, caught off guard. "Help me?" "Yes," Alex replied without hesitation. "You've proven yourself to be resourceful, brave, and honest. I could use someone like you. Let me give you a place to stay, a chance to rebuild your life." Ava opened her mouth to protest, but Alex raised a hand, stopping her. "This isn't charity," he clarified. "It's an investment in someone who's already shown they have what it takes to stand up for what's right." Tears welled in Ava's eyes, but she quickly wiped them away, unwilling to let herself be vulnerable. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything," Alex said with a faint smile. "Just say yes." For the first time in years, Ava felt a glimmer of hope. She nodded, her voice cracking as she said, "Yes, thank you." Alex stood and extended a hand toward her, his expression one of genuine respect. "We'll figure this out together," he said. As their hands met, a silent agreement was made. They would rebuild, not just Alex's company, but also Ava's future. Together, they would forge a path built on trust, integrity, and a shared determination to make things right. In the days that followed, the fallout from Victor's betrayal rippled through Caldwell Enterprises. Alex took swift action to sever ties with the foreign conglomerate, exposing their predatory practices to the public. The company's reputation, once on shaky ground, began to rebuild under his renewed leadership. But the most profound changes occurred within Alex himself. Inspired by Ava's resilience and moral conviction, he began to focus on more than just profit. New initiatives were launched to support underprivileged communities, offering resources and opportunities to those who needed them most. And Ava? She found herself not only with a place to stay, but also with a role in Alex's company. Her sharp instincts and unwavering determination made her an invaluable asset. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she belonged. Together, Alex and Ava became an unlikely team, bound by the shared belief that success meant more than wealth. It meant leaving the world better than they found it. And though their journey was far from over, they faced it with hope, knowing that even the most unexpected alliances could change lives. Thank you for joining us today on Empathy Stories. If this tale of courage and redemption resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing impactful stories to light. Together, let's spread empathy and inspire positive change. Until next time, take care and stay compassionate.